In the cold waters off South Africa, the great white shark looks untouchable. For millions of years, it has been the ocean's most feared predator. Heavy, fast, built to kill. Then the bodies started washing ashore. Great whites, dead, not torn apart, not half-eaten, just opened with eerie precision. The carcasses were completely intact, but their livers, massive, energy-rich organs, were gone. Whatever was doing this was not just killing these sharks. It knew exactly what it wanted. The answer was even more unsettling than the mystery. It was orcas. They had figured out how to hunt the apex predator. They would ram the shark, flip it upside down to paralyze it, and extract the liver with mechanical efficiency. But the strangest part of this story isn't that they can do this. It's that with all that power and all that intelligence, they actively choose not to do it to us. Because orcas are not just mindless killing machines. They are intelligent in a way that feels deeply familiar. They live in families led by grandmothers. They teach hunting strategies to their young. They have dialects, traditions, and distinct cultures passed from one generation to the next. This is not just a story about a killer whale. It is a story about another apex mind on this planet. This is World Untangled. And to understand how the orca conquered the ocean, we have to untangle its body, its brain, and the culture that made it one of the most formidable animals on Earth. To understand the orca, you have to understand where it came from. 50 million years ago, this animal was not a killer whale. It was a wolf-sized mammal wading through shallow water. That animal, called Pakicetus, lived in what is now Pakistan. It was furry, four-legged, built for land. But over millions of years, evolution pulled its descendants deeper into the water. Legs became flippers, nostrils moved upward and became a blowhole. The hips detached, shrank, and lost their original function. Step by step, this lineage gave up life on land for mastery of the sea. And even now, deep inside the orca's body, you can still find tiny vestigial pelvic bones, the faint last trace of legs that once walked on land. What emerged from that transformation is a predator built with astonishing precision. A male orca can reach around 32 feet in length and weigh as much as 10 tons, roughly the length of a school bus. But unlike a bus, this body is built for speed and control. Its shape cuts cleanly through the water. Its skin stays smooth by constantly shedding its outer layer, reducing drag. And despite that size, it can burst forward at around 30 miles per hour. Then, there is the bite. We do not have a clean, real-world measurement for orca bite force, but it is clearly powerful enough to crush large prey and tear through dense tissue. This is an animal built to overpower almost anything it targets. But raw power is only part of the story. The orca's greatest weapon may be its sensory system. In the ocean, vision has limits, so the orca evolved a way to read the world through sound. That is echolocation. Here is how it works. The orca pushes air through specialized structures in its nasal passages called phonic lips, producing rapid bursts of clicks. Those clicks pass through the melon, the large, rounded forehead that gives the orca its distinctive shape, which helps focus the sound into a directed beam. When that beam hits something, a salmon, a shark, even a large metal object, the echo returns. And here is the astonishing part. Much of that returning sound is received through the lower jaw, which helps conduct vibrations toward the inner ear. In effect, the orca does not just hear the ocean, it scans it. Shape, distance, density, movement, all built from sound. And that is why the next part of the story matters. Because in the open ocean, this system is a superpower. In a concrete tank, it becomes something else entirely. In the wild, the amount of information an orca can extract from echoes is extraordinary. It can detect subtle differences in objects at distance, process them in real time, and decide whether something is prey, a threat, or not worth the effort at all. It experiences a world of detail that humans can barely imagine. If the first chapter was about power, this one is about what makes that power so unsettling. Because the orca is not just a large predator with a strong body. It is a large predator with an extraordinary brain. The orca has one of the heaviest brains in the animal kingdom, weighing around 15 pounds. It is far larger than a human brain. But raw size is only part of the story. Structure matters more. When neuroscientists look at a human brain, they look for gyrification, the folds and wrinkles on the surface of the brain. More folds mean more surface area, and more surface area usually means more processing capacity. Human brains are famous for this, but an orca brain is folded to an astonishing degree, dense, layered, almost crumpled in on itself. It suggests a mind built for serious computational power. But the most shocking difference may lie in the regions linked to emotion and social processing. In humans, the limbic system helps govern emotion, memory, and bonding. In orcas, related areas appear unusually developed, including a paralimbic region that has attracted a great deal of scientific interest. Some researchers think this may be tied to unusually complex social awareness and emotional life. And that changes the way we should think about intelligence. We tend to picture intelligence as logic, tools, numbers, but orca intelligence may be built just as much around relationships, around memory, coordination, empathy, and social cohesion. They may experience grief, joy, attachment, and loss in ways that are far more sophisticated than we once assumed. They are not just efficient hunters. They are emotional beings living inside long, intricate family systems. And that emotional intelligence is not a side note. It is the foundation of their society. Orcas are one of the few animals on Earth that live in a true matriarchal structure. The center of the pod is not the biggest male. It is the oldest female. The grandmother is the memory of the family. Because orcas can live for up to 90 years, similar to humans, these matriarchs hold decades of knowledge. They know where prey is likely to be, when conditions change. They know migration routes. They know how to navigate bad seasons. In a very real sense, they are living archives. Orcas are one of only 3 species on the planet, along with humans and pilot whales, where females go through menopause. In most of the animal kingdom, females reproduce until they die, but female orcas stop having babies in their 30s or 40s and then live for another 40 or 50 years. Why? This is the grandmother hypothesis. If an older female keeps having babies, she competes with her daughters for resources. But if she stops, she becomes a caregiver, a teacher, and a leader. She ensures the survival of her grandchildren. And in orca society, that bond runs deep. Sons do not leave. Even massive adult males stay closely tied to their mothers throughout life, relying on them for leadership, support, and sometimes even food sharing. This is not a loose hunting group. It is a society built on loyalty, memory, and inheritance. Humans built civilization by storing knowledge outside the body, in books, records, and machines. Orcas store it inside the family. We have established one simple idea. Humans store knowledge outside the body, but orcas store it inside the family. And once knowledge lives inside the family long enough, it becomes something more than intelligence. It becomes culture. That is the mistake we make when we talk about the orca as if it were one single kind of animal. It is not. What we call killer whales are really multiple distinct populations with different diets, different dialects, different behaviors, and different ways of living in the ocean. You can think of orca culture almost like a technology stack. Their dialects are protocols. Their hunting methods are inherited playbooks. In the Pacific Northwest, for example, two types of orcas, residents and transients, live in the same waters, but they live completely different lives. Residents are highly social. They live in larger, noisier pods. They feed mainly on fish, especially Chinook salmon. They are constantly vocalizing, using calls and whistles to stay connected. Transients, by contrast, move in smaller groups and hunt marine mammals, seals, sea lions, even other whales. They are far quieter because, unlike fish, their prey can hear them coming. These groups have remained separate for an extraordinarily long time. They do not use the same acoustic patterns. They do not hunt the same prey. And when they cross paths, they tend to avoid each other. This is not just biology. This is culture. Their diet, their behavior, even their sense of what counts as food are shaped by learned traditions passed down across generations. A resident orca is not simply built to eat salmon. It is raised in a culture organized around salmon. That is the key point. These behaviors are not just instinct, they are tradition. An orca is not only born into a species, it is born into a way of life. And once you understand that, the hunting strategies stop looking like random brilliance. They start looking like culture in action. Different populations solving different problems in different ways. In Antarctica, some orcas hunt seals, resting on floating ice using a technique called wave washing. They swim in a synchronized line toward the flow, then dive at the last second, generating a surge that knocks the seal into the water. It is precision, coordination, and learned timing. In Patagonia, others hunt sea lion pups near shore using intentional stranding. They launch themselves out of the water, slide onto the beach, seize a pup from the surf line, and then fight their way back into deeper water. It is risky, difficult, and anything but accidental. And then there are the shark hunters we met in the beginning. Go back to that shark on the beach. That was not random violence. It was specialized predation. It was regime change. In South Africa, and now possibly in California and Australia as well, some orcas appear to have learned how to exploit one of the great white's biggest vulnerabilities. The shark's liver is enormous, rich in oils and critical for buoyancy. But great whites are dangerous prey. So the orcas found a biohack. They figured out how to surgically disable it using tonic immobility, extract the exact organ they want, and leave the rest. That is not brute force. That is applied knowledge. And it does not just kill a shark. It changes the ecosystem around it. When orcas move into an area, great whites retreat. The apex predator is displaced. Prey behavior shifts. Other predators shift. The local food web begins to reorganize. The orca is not just a hunter, it is a cultural predator. An animal whose learned strategies can reshape the ocean itself. Throughout history, humans have had a complicated relationship with orcas. We feared them, demonized them, hunted them, and yet there is a strange pattern in the history of orca-human encounters. Despite being one of the most capable predators on Earth, powerful enough to kill great white sharks and even attack large whales, There are no confirmed fatal attacks by wild orcas on humans in the modern record, and reported incidents remain rare and often ambiguous. Why? They are intelligent enough to recognize that we are vulnerable, powerful enough to kill us easily. And yet, in the wild, they usually do not. No one knows exactly why. Some researchers have suggested that avoidance of humans may itself be cultural, a behavior reinforced across generations. Whether that is true or not, the pattern is striking. And in some cases, the relationship went even further. In Eden, Australia, a pod led by an orca, known as Old Tom, appears to have cooperated with human whalers for decades. The orcas helped drive baleen whales into the bay. They signaled the whalers. The humans killed the whale, and the orcas were rewarded with the lips and tongue, a practice remembered as the law of the tongue. It is one of the strangest examples of interspecies cooperation in modern history. And then we turned around and built marine parks. In the 1960s and 70s, humans began capturing these intelligent, family-bound animals and placing them in concrete tanks for entertainment. Calves were separated from their mothers. Family groups were broken apart. Wild social worlds were collapsed into confinement. And in captivity, the story changed. Tilikum, a male held in marine parks after being captured near Iceland, was involved in the deaths of 3 people, but that is not evidence that the wild animal was secretly monstrous. It is evidence of what happens when you take a creature built for vast oceans, complex communication, and lifelong family bonds, and cut it off from all of it. That is the deeper tragedy of captivity. It is not just about space. It is about cultural severance. When you take an orca from the wild, you are not just moving an animal. You are deleting its software. You are stripping away its dialect, its traditions, its social structure, and its family. What remains is not a true version of the animal. It is a damaged one. Even the body begins to reflect it. Collapsed dorsal fins became one of the most visible symbols of captivity, a physical sign that something is deeply wrong. In the end, captivity did not reveal the nature of the orca. It revealed the nature of us. So what is the orca? It is not just a large dolphin. It is another path to high intelligence. We like to imagine that humans are unique, the lone species that built language, memory, teaching, and culture into a way of life. But the orca forces us to rethink that story. In the ocean, there is another creature that teaches its young, cares for its elders, passes down traditions, and lives inside a world shaped by memory. It has spread across the planet, adapted to radically different environments, and risen to the top of its food web. And in some ways, its intelligence may have led somewhere very different from ours. Humans used intelligence to dominate the planet through extraction, expansion, and control. Orcas seem to have used it to specialize, to coordinate, and to fit themselves into the ecosystems around them. We do not see civilization in the human form, but we do see something that feels uncomfortably close to a parallel. The next time you look out at the ocean, remember, beneath that surface lives a society that is ancient, social, and far more complex than we once imagined. The real question is not whether orcas are intelligent enough to understand us. It is whether we are finally intelligent enough to understand them. And if we ever could truly translate what they are saying, what do you think they would tell us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. To untangle more of the incredible stories hidden in our world, subscribe to World Untangled and join me for the next deep dive.